in your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
From beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
Around the world at sunskyMysteries.com.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is SETV.
Well, good evening, everybody. How you doing? It would help a lot if I were to actually be ready for the show at some point. That would be great. This is Bill Zam, and welcome to another exciting episode of Surrounded by Idiots. We have had, pardon me while I do some adjustments here. There we go. Last night, after the show was on the air, I got an email from one of our faithful listeners, and he said, Bill, I just saw you on YouTube, which is interesting because I had just uploaded the show to YouTube. And he said, I didn't know that you were on a sabbatical for a few weeks to get your thoughts together and everything. And, well, I kind of thought that you had been heart attacked and you were no longer with us because you couldn't get on any of the websites. Well, I got a hold of our webmaster, the guy that actually does all of our stuff on the internet besides me, and he was able to track it down that we had been under an attack for several weeks that had really screwed up our DNS servers. So we made some phone calls and talked to the right people and greased the correct palms, and all the websites are working again. You can watch the show live and participate in the show chat at sunskymysteries.com, survivalthroughinformation.com, awakenin2012.com, and SeleneETV.com. So come on over and watch the show live and participate as I discuss various interesting tidbits of information. And remember, always wear your ball cap outside because it messes with the facial recognition software in the drones. Makes them harder to track you that way. Got to make these people work for a living, you know. Can't let them have all the information for free. Anyways, this morning I did a morning update, which you've probably seen on YouTube by now. If not, that's fine and dandy. And we are going to be covering a lot of stuff in a short amount of time tonight. Pardon me while I check all of the different bits of information that are streaming across the network. Yeah, going to go like that. Okay, that's a little bit better. You have to adjust all of your audio levels and everything else when you are doing a big production like this. Incidentally, I forgot to mention to you guys the other night, and I was soundly beaten about the head until I promised that I would mention this. You remember, back in early 2011 was when we began Surrounded by Idiots. I took a brief respite in order to help somebody out that turned out to be completely insane. But we have actually gotten our entire original production staff back on board. It's like a big freaking family reunion around here these days. Anyways, I wanted to talk about this. I mentioned this morning on the morning update. We are on the brink of a worldwide feudal system ruled by a handful of elites. You know that. I know that. We're trying to wake people up. Because look, George Washington, you remember that guy? He's the guy with the funny white hair and everything, father of the country, wooden teeth, chopped down the apple tree, none of it's true. At any rate, when he gave his first inauguration in New York City. Because remember, they didn't have Washington, D.C. and stuff like that back then because, well, they couldn't name the city after him until after he had been president. But anyways, he took the oath of office in New York City. After that inauguration, he gave his little speech, yeah, rah, 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 we're going to be a great country and all that kind of stuff. He proceeded to take the crowd, such as it was, down the street to the church. I believe it was St. Paul's Church down there. Let me see if I can actually bring this up. I believe that I had this. Bookmarks. There we go. Let me see if I can find what I was looking for. No, of course I can't. Well, at any rate, he took him down the street to a church. I believe it was the St. Paul's Chapel. It actually survived 9/11 with no broken windows or anything else. Apparently, the authorities first believed that a homeless guy had opened up a window in the steeple, and that kept the overpressure from blowing out all the windows, but that wasn't correct. And then they thought that a tree had uprooted itself, walked over to the church, and wrapped its branches around there as Mother Gaia had protected the church, which also was not true. Those of us that are Christians and believe correctly know that that was the hand of God that protected that church. Now that church is where George Washington took that crowd from the first inauguration. He went down there and he made a national covenant with God. In other words, a covenant with the United States and God, between the two of us. And it is my opinion, actually, I've adopted this as my opinion because I heard this from a minister. He said to me, Bill, let me tell you something. If you see or experience somebody violating this nation's covenant with God and you do nothing, it is as if you had done it yourself. And thus, this is why we do the show. We are on the brink of a worldwide feudal system ruled by a handful of elites. It makes me wonder if our only hope, the only hope that we have, would be a pandemic or Planet X or a giant asteroid that might eliminate them along with most of the rest of us. The 1,000 points of light that George W. Bush's has more in common with cluster bombs than Christmas these days. We are all world citizens sharing a common fate, but we all have our own sovereign nations to live in, with our own laws, our own rules, and our own cultures. If life in China appeals to you, then do nothing. China is coming to you. If you love freedom and your fellow man, then we face a hard road ahead, and quite honestly, I have no idea which road we should take. As I explained in my morning update, we are on the highway of life, and there are exits off the highway. One exit says fascism, one exit says socialism, another exit says communism, another exit says free republic. We are kind of swerving between the socialism and the communism, just like swerving back and forth as we go down the highway of life. We must, as a people, get to the exit that says free republic this way, because it leads us back to the road, back to the highway that we were once on. I hope we figure this out collectively, because there is precious little time left to do so. It's truly depressing, because I wonder how the hell we can escape what now seems to be our inevitable fate. Once the proposed fleet of drones are put into the American sky, I believe, more than likely, it's game over. Any illusions of freedom will be dropped, and the true face of the New World Order will be plain for all to see. There will be no more voting, no more freedom of speech, no private ownership of firearms. Everything in our lives will be determined for us if they decide we are worth keeping alive in the first place. Now, I don't blame my fellow Americans for this complacency. After all, things seem to be okay. You have a home, food to eat, savings in the bank. Look around you. Among you or your friends or your family, how many of you are willing to give it all up? And I mean all of it, because that's what our founding fathers did. They gave everything up in order to secure the freedom of this country. Everything in your comfortable lives that gives you the security that you have. Are you willing to give up your job? Are you willing to give up your home, your large screen TV? Are you willing to give up your mobile phone? Are you willing to give up your website? Are you willing to give up your nice car or their crappy and happy little, I got to run the kids to school so now I can get to the gym lives? Are you really willing to do that? Are you willing to fight for your country at all? Are you willing to stand up, go to public meetings, talk to people, find out what we can do to save this country? Are you really willing to do that? I bet half of you aren't. Do you see what I'm driving at here? Before, the enemy being fought in the Revolutionary War was for all intents and purposes a remote enemy, a foreign enemy with foreign values and foreign moral fiber. In the here and now, we would be fighting inside. This would be tantamount to a civil war, a bloodless civil war. Let me be clear about that. I'm not advocating violence in any way, shape, or form. We still have elections in this country. We still have the opportunity to get off on the exit of a free republic. But it's up to us to decide that. What we are facing now is an almost unbeatable foe. These are the people, the ones that are in power right now. The Saul Alinsky's, the Barack Obamas, all the rest of them. The Nancy Pelosi's, the Harry Reids. They are the ones with all the cards. And we can throw a whole lot of the Republicans in with that too. Don't think I'm just picking on the Democrats, because they're all the same. They're a bunch of weasels. They're the idiots that we're surrounded by. It's not impossible to do this, but given what I said before about people unwilling to part with the status quo luxuries, what compelling reason is there for the majority of people to do anything about it? Yes, they're going to go and vote in November. I believe that we're going to have a massive turnout, judging by what we saw in Wisconsin earlier this week. None of that really matters. What really matters is what is not easily seen. The freedom to live a life free of government intervention and manipulation. Freedom from absurd laws and regulations like having to have a permit for a lemonade stand. People will eventually take action when they realize they have no freedoms left. Once their liberty has been completely stolen from them, they will have nothing meaningful left, just material possessions. And then, and only then, will they take notice. But you know the problem with that, just like I do. By the time people realize there is a serious problem, it will be far, far too late to fix the problem, because they won't have the freedom required to even make their voice heard. Look at everything that's going on. But there is a bit of good news. There was a federal judge, I believe it was today, if I'm seeing this right on my screen, Judge Catherine B. Forrest. Judge Catherine B. Forrest has answered a request made by President Barack Obama. He made it last month to explain a May 16th ruling made in a Southern District of New York courtroom regarding the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, clarifying the meaning behind her injunction. I repeat, a federal judge has thrown an injunction on the NDAA. Remember that. Judge Forrest confirms in an 8-page memorandum opinion this week that the NDAA's controversial provision that permits indefinite detention cannot be used on any of America's own citizens. Apparently, we've gotten a slight reprieve from that mess. In other news, we're just going to keep going on with bad news tonight. In other news, there is a website that's called solarimage.com. That's solarimig.com. And the owner, Rick, he is apparently going to be taking down Solar Image. It's not being censored. It's not being taken down by the authorities. But apparently, our man Rick there was part of something that's going on in Canada when he was picked up by the authorities. And according to his own words, Rick was beaten by the authorities before being released. Because, you see, up in Canada, they are having massive protests that you don't know about. They are 10, 20, 30,000 people strong in any one given city. They're going absolutely berserk up there, all because of their Prime Minister, Mr. Harper. That's something you want to check out. Get on the internet and do a search for Canadian protests. You will be very surprised about what you find. It's absolutely insane up there. So running to Canada to get away from the United States is just as stupid as running to Mexico to get away from the United States. There isn't any place left to go. You have to fight for your own country. And I don't mean physical fighting. You have to keep making that clear. In other news, and I'm sure that you've heard this by now because it's been all over the news, the news that I listen to and I watch. I don't particularly watch MSNBC, where news goes to die, or CNN, where nobody watches anything. But there has been a major development. This might be a game ender right here. Let me bring this up. This is from National Review Online. Incidentally, probably after tonight's show, we're not going to be showing the video portion of the show on YouTube because, well, we don't want any additional problems from anybody. We just want to mind our own business and do our civic duty for the country. I'm not going to get in a pissing match with anybody. And incidentally, anybody interfering with the network is guilty of tortuous interference, for which I charge $10,000 a day when I catch you. Not if, but when I catch you. At any rate, let's take a look at this webpage right here. Most of the shows that you hear this from, most of the shows that you watch, radio shows that you listen to and whatnot, they're not going to show you this stuff. We are the only show that actually takes you right to the horse's mouth. And here we are, right here, the website that actually broke this news, National Review Online, Obama's third-party history. New documents shed new light on his ties to a leftist party in the 1990s. This is by Stanley Kurtz. It is reported that, let me see here, okay, this is a membership called New Party. They had a front group called Progressive Chicago, whose job it was to identify candidates that the New Party and its sympathizers might support. Nearly 4 years before Obama was endorsed by the New Party, both he and somebody by the name of Harwell joined Progressive Chicago and began signing public letters that regularly reported on the group's meetings. Let's see. Here's the minutes of the meeting on January 11th, 1996, of the New Party Chicago's chapter, and it reads as follows. Barack Obama, candidate for the state senate in the 13th Legislative District, gave a statement on the membership and answered questions. He signed the new party candidate contract and requested an endorsement from the new party. He also joined the new party. That is from their minutes on January 11th, 1996. And here is the article itself right here. Hopefully you can see it on the screen. Let me double check to make sure that it is coming through A-OK on the video stream. Pardon me while I call that up. It's one of the high pieces of technology that we have here. Incidentally, we also have our Skype updates on all of the websites, as well as, there we go. Yes, as a matter of fact, you can see it quite well. On the evening of January 11th, 1996, while Mitt Romney was in the final years of his run as the head of Bain Capital, Barack Obama formally joined the new party, which was deeply hostile to the mainstream of the Democratic Party and even to American capitalism. In 2008, candidate Obama deceived the American public about his potentially damaging tie to this third party. The issue remains as fresh as today's headlines, as Romney argues that Obama is trying to move the United States towards European-style social democracy, which was precisely the new party's goal. In late October 2008, when I wrote here at National Review Online that Obama had been a member of the new party, his campaign sharply denied it, calling my claim a crackpot smear. Fight the Smears, an official Obama campaign website, staunchly maintained that Barack has been a member of only one political party, the Democratic Party. I rebutted this, but the debate was never taken up by the mainstream press. That is Stanley Kurtz right there. There is his photograph. Recently obtained evidence from the updated records of Illinois Acorn at the Wisconsin Historical Society now definitively establishes that Obama was a member of the new party. He signed a contract promising to publicly support and associate himself with the new party while in office. Minutes of the meeting on January 11th, 1996 of the New Party Chicago's chapter reads as follows. Barack Obama, campaign candidate for state senate in the 13th Legislative District, gave a statement to the membership and answered questions, as I read just a minute ago. This article is at National Review Online, nationalreview.com. That would be nationalreview.com. You can go there and read this article for yourself. It's highly important. It is not one, but it is actually 2 pages long. It is very interesting and very damning. Now, I'm going to finish up the show tonight. I only have like 10 million things to cover, but I thought this one was fairly important. Probably tomorrow night we're going to talk about insanity, so you're going to want to make sure that you tune in for that. Insanity, tomorrow night, Friday night, June 8th, 2012, at 7 p.m. Eastern, or thereabouts. What I wanted to talk to you about was something that we are seeing quite a bit of. This comes to us from ohio.mediatrackers.org. That's ohio.mediatrackers.org. The website says, welcome to Media Trackers Ohio. Media Trackers Ohio is a conservative, nonprofit, nonpartisan, investigative watchdog dedicated to promoting accountability in the media and government across Ohio through cutting-edge research and communications initiative. I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty damn impressive, doesn't it? Another Solyndra. Ohio finally plans to investigate deadbeat taxpayer-funded green jobs company, Willard and Kelsey Solar Group. The Ohio Department of Development recently announced plans to audit Perrysburg solar panel manufacturer Willard and Kelsey Solar Group, LLC, also known as WK Solar, after the company failed to make regular debt payments on money it borrowed from taxpayers. The company borrowed $5 million in taxpayer funds from Ohio's Air Quality Development Authority Green Jobs Program, as well as $10 million in funds lent by the Department of Development itself. Apparently, this is another alternative energy company that couldn't make its payments. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you will hear other conservatives, other conservative Christian hosts, other conservative hosts, members of the conservative media, tell you how worthless and horrible green energy is, how worthless and not ready for prime time solar is. But let me tell you something. They're blowing sunshine someplace where they shouldn't be blowing sunshine. And I'm going to tell you why. That is because of this, ladies and gentlemen. If you are familiar with all of my shows and what I do, I can tell you this right here that I hold in my hand at this point, this right here is in fact one of my solar panels. Yes, I use alternative energy. We have a place in northern Michigan. It is off the grid. I make my own electricity. It is not connected to the grid or any infrastructure whatsoever. It is completely standalone. This is one of my solar panels. This right here is a little stack right here of what are called solar cells. Right here. This is a silicone solar cell. Right now, at about a half a volt underneath these bright lights, right now, this is putting out 2 amps of power. Only about a half a volt, though. So you need a whole bunch of these to make enough voltage that is usable. But these are solar cells. I build my own solar panels. I know exactly what I'm talking about. To equip your home with solar energy and to do it right, supply your own home with solar energy. This is where my fellow hosts get it right. It's going to cost you somewhere in the neighborhood of around $20,000 to power your own home. I propose doing it a different way, but if you just call a contractor, come in and say, I don't want to buy electricity no more, I want solar power. And not only do I want solar power, this is my Swamp People, you know, the show on TV, the show on the Alligator Hunters, you know, the Swamp People. I happen to do a halfway passable imitation of how the Swamp People talk. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to get a contract on. He's going to come down here and he's going to put some solar panels on a house down here in Louisiana in the swamp. And what we're going to do is we're going to be completely off the grid. We're not going to be beholden to anybody while we go out and get ourselves some alligators and skin the alligators and sell the alligators for a lot of money so that we can fill all of our tags. And then once in a while we're going to turn around and we're going to go, shoot 'em, shoot 'em, as we're trying to get the alligators up in this here boat, the airboat, because we got an airboat that we fly around in the swamp in order to be able to get them alligators, because we got to fly up on them. We fly up on them alligators. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take a bunch of these here solar cells, and we're going to take these solar cells and we're going to strap them all together, and we're going to make ourselves some electricity. We're going to make the electricity so that we can power our house, so we can turn on our lights and stuff like this and do a nice show like Mr. Bill Zam did. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to spend the money to put the solar panel up on the house, and we're going to have a way, obviously, if we want to get off the grid and go truly green, because if you're connected to the grid, you're not really green. The only thing you're doing is you're just helping out the electric company where you're spending the money on the solar panel in the first place. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to be completely off the grid, so you're going to have to store the electricity, so that means you're going to need a bunch of battery. Now when you want to get the battery, every once in a while you're going to have to turn around and look at the alligator and go, shoot 'em, just like they do on the swamp people. At any rate, getting back to what I was talking about before I went completely insane, it's going to, in order to be able to store the electricity, because if you want to go green, you're going to go green. You're not going to do this grid tie crap and everything else so that you can sell power back to the electric company and then buy power from the electric company. If you're going to go green, go green. Don't go halfway. Don't be piss-ass about it. Do it all the way. If you're going to go green, go green. Because remember, some of that electricity coming out of your wires is from a coal-fired power plant. So if you're buying anything from the electric company, you're part of the problem, not the solution. So what you're going to do is you're going to go out and you're going to spend around $20,000 in solar panels. And then, my good friends, you're going to need to be able to store that. So you're going to need deep cycle batteries. And those deep cycle batteries, once you get enough to power your house, because remember, there's going to be cloudy days along with the sunny days, you're going to have enough capacity to power your house and the kids' Nintendo and everything else while you're strutting around with your thumbs and your suspenders talking about how green you are. You're going to be spending about another $12,000 on batteries and about $2,000 on inverters in order to move the battery power up to household power that you can actually use. And believe it or not, there's going to be an entire series of days where it is cloudy, so you're going to need to have yourself a wind turbine that's going to sit there in your backyard and go 24 freaking hours a day, driving everybody in the neighborhood nuts until they sue you. And on some days, there's not going to be any wind, and it's going to be cloudy, and your batteries are going to be going dry. So you're going to need a generator that's powered by something. What is up to you? You can power it by natural gas, you can power it by gasoline, you can power it by propane. I really don't care, but you're going to need that type of backup. Now, if your electric bill is approximately $110 to $150 a month, like most people's electric bills are, that $20,000 is going to take you how long to pay off? You can do the math yourself. And that's just for the solar panels. That doesn't include the storage or the backups or anything else. So, no matter what they do, no matter how many times you read about a big breakthrough in solar electrical production or solar energy or alternative energy or one of these green companies like this place in Ohio, no matter how many times you see it or you hear it, there's been a big breakthrough or something, the big guys, the corporate honchos, if you will, the guys that are in charge of this, the elites, the best of the best, the top guns of the alternative energy field are going to make sure that this costs you just a little bit over $3 a watt. That way, they can make their profits and, at the same time, give 99% of the people an impetus not to spend all that money on alternative energy. Because remember, it's going to take you decades to pay that off, and right about that time is when you're going to have to replace everything. So if you're in your 50s like me, and you decide to turn your entire house green. Make all of your own electricity. Use LED lights and everything, like I've shown you before in the show. This stuff's going to outlive you. You're going to die, and you're still going to be paying that off, or your kids are going to be paying it off. So until they get the cost comparable to regular grid electricity, down to let's say 50 cents a watt. Let's not even get down to what the electric coming out of the wall cost you. Let's say 50 cents a watt. Until they do that, I'm sorry, but it's just not a mainstream viable product. That's not to say you can't use it, and I'm going to tell you why. And that's how we're going to finish up the show. I'm going to tell you why. Now, this is something that I did myself. Anybody can do this. What you want to do is, say you have a bathroom. Okay, you got a bathroom, and it's on the inside of the house. You have to turn the lights on constantly in this thing and everything else. Here's what you do. You get yourself a couple of solar panels, little solar panels like this. $250, you can get, 45, 50 watts of solar power, and you power that one room with your solar power. Get yourself one deep cycle battery and some of these solar panels, and just power that one bathroom that you have. And then maybe you can, the bedroom that bathroom's attached to, well, you can expand, get a few more solar panels, a couple more batteries, and expand the power, your own personal grid at this point, to power that bedroom. And then slowly but surely invest in it and build up your solar dynasty. That's what we did. That's what we did, and that's how we do it. See, I keep these solar panels here at our broadcast headquarters, along with the deep cycle battery bank. When we go up to our property in northern Michigan, I cart it all up there with me and cart it all back again. That way, if we have a major grid failure from an EMP or something out like that, I will have and be able to provide myself with electricity without having to use a generator. And that's my opinion on the current state of solar energy. So, at this point, I could take a break, or I could end the show. And since I've been on the air for close to an hour, and there's probably nobody watching anymore, I will go ahead and end the show. Now remember, over there on all of our websites, Selene TV, SunSkyMysteries.com, Awaken2012.com. What are the other shows? We got like a million shows out there now, a million websites. Sun Sky Mysteries, survivalthroughinformation.com, and probably pretty soon at our alternative energy site, northernmichigansolar.com. We are going to have links to all of the MP3s and shows and everything else. So, until tomorrow night, my name is Bill Zam, and I'll see you guys probably tomorrow night at some point. Be sure to stop by the website, any of the websites, and watch the show live so you can interact with me, ask questions, make comments, and maybe even be on the show. So have a good night. We appreciate everybody showing up.